I was just checking the microphone, make sure we're good. Hope you're well. Hope you're well. I was in Colorado for 3 days, and I'm back. Kim is still there. I had to come back. I've got to get Michael to some physical therapy stuff. He's doing well. His X-ray Wednesday showed his healing well. He's healing well. So not quite cleared yet, but doing better. He's at 7 weeks now since the surgery, so that's good. Yeah. They say 10 to 12 weeks for full recovery, but it looks like it's doing well, so that's good. Yeah. He hadn't had any pain in a long time, and so yeah. He should be able to return to work here in a few weeks. Yeah. It's my hope. You'll have to be careful the first week or two, not to lift anything heavy like this, but he uses his right arm, he can use his left arm, he just can't push something heavy over his shoulder level. But yeah, it looks like it's healing well, and so hopefully if he gets just yeah. I mean, he hit his head really hard too, so he's having long-term concussive problems too. Yeah, headaches, dizziness, memory loss. I mean, he hit the...
It just happened in the ring.
Yeah. So we're still recovering from that a little bit. We probably have several more weeks of that. But I think hopefully it's getting progressively better. Yeah, but he's getting better. Thankful for it. Yeah. Well, it's good to see you guys. 250 years of American birthday, and I celebrated it by going to bed. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. There were fireworks going on. So there were fireworks. So Mansfield, have you all seen this? Mansfield built a soccer stadium. And they did the fireworks in the soccer stadium last night. They used to do it down at Big League Dreams, but they did it at the soccer stadium. It was packed out last night when I drove by. So Mansfield has built this massive soccer stadium out on 360. I don't know if you've seen it. It's south of the high school football stadium, south of the golf course down there. And yeah, it's beyond Big League Dreams in the water park there, Hawaiian Falls or whatever. It's south of that, but it's spectacular. Like, I'd like to go in and just see it. During the World Cup, apparently a few teams practiced out there. And I thought that'd be cool to go watch them practice, but I don't know if they were letting people do that. But I'd like to go in the stadium. It looks really, really cool. It's built for soccer. It's very tall and narrow, and has that feel of kind of the soccer stadium build to it. So I don't know what they're planning, I guess, for high school soccer. The thing seats. Huh? Oh, really? Okay, so they're going to use it for other stuff too then. Okay. Because for high school soccer, that looks like a really big stadium for high school soccer. Because it... Huh? Yeah. Other things, yeah. I hope so. Because it looks like it seats 30,000, and I don't know that I've seen 30,000 at a high school soccer game. Maybe they do. Like a minor league for... Yeah, maybe there's some minor league soccer that'll happen out there. Anyway, it looks stunning. Like, it looks like a really cool stadium. So I'd like to go in it. It's not quite ready, it didn't look like, but there was a ton. It was filled. I drove by there last night. It was filled up. So anyway, yeah. So there were fireworks going on there. And Waxahachie, I think, shoots them off over the lake. Is that right? Did they shoot them off over the lake last night? Oh, this is a sports car. I missed it. That's my backyard. Oh, I have to bring up the Ring camera and see if it picked it up. There's a lake out. It looked like they were shooting off over the lake south of town. But oh, yeah. Okay, that's down toward a little bit more toward Ennis. Well, they definitely had them in my neighborhood, right? You have neighbors shooting them off last night, anyone? Were you home and they were shooting them off? The guy 2 doors down was, I think, it was a bigger show than Mansfield Soccer Stadium, and I come driving, Austin said, hey, I need your help with something. I come driving, and the two dogs are running down the street toward me. I'm like, what in the world? And so I got them in the car real quick. I drove it. It's like, why are the dogs running down the street? They'd broken out a plank, but I feel certain that the reason they did this is they had World War II, World War III, World War IV, I don't know, something going on at the end of the street. Like whatever this guy had, he had enough armory to, I think we could have defeated Russia and China last night just from what he had in his front yard. And so I know now why the dogs were so freaked out. They freaked out, they pushed that plank out, went running. And so I just happened to pull in right when they broke out. I was so thankful because they could have gotten run over, you know, or lost or whatever. Yeah, lost. What's that? Yeah. Yeah, the German Shepherd and the Blue Heeler, they just broken out of the fence right when I pulled in. And I stopped real quick, opened the back door of the car, and they jumped in. And so I drove to the house. You know, they'd just gotten out. I mean, the timing was spectacular. But I figure that's why. This is, I think, a very common thing this time of year is for people to lose their pet or to lose a dog or something like that because of the fireworks. And so anyway, I told my son, I'm like, they're going to have to just stay in the room with you, and you're going to have to turn on music or TV or something loud enough to at least pull that down. Oh, is there? Is it for the owner of the dog or for the dog itself? There's soothing music so that you'll be soothed while the dog is freaking out over the fireworks. But at least you'll feel better about it. Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. Hey, that's part of it, right? We want to care for the dog owner too, not just the dog. Yeah. Oh my goodness. This is the dumbest thing ever. We used to leave Animal Planet on when we would leave. Like they would be watching. Oh, that's cool. It's a whole show about creatures just like us. I was suspicious that they probably weren't watching it, yeah, but we felt better, you know, we felt better. So we would leave Animal Planet on, and Kim and I we would leave, and we were just like imagining the two of them just glued to the screen, learning about giraffes or something. I don't know. Then I did some research. It was like, yeah, dogs actually aren't watching. They probably aren't watching it, but anyway. Well, it's good to see you guys. I hope you had a happy 4th. Any of y'all go watch some fireworks? Any of y'all see any, like go to a show? Yes, you went to a show. Where'd you go? Yeah. That only works for 4th of July if they're using muskets, though. You know, like if you're going to celebrate the 4th of July, you should be using a musket, not, you know, if you're shooting off an AR-15, that's really anachronistic for 4th of July. It should be, you know, the powder and loading it and then shooting it. Yeah. Okay, all right, well. Yeah, that's not really 4th of July celebration. I don't know what they're celebrating. 4th of July should be a musket, darn it. Yeah. Okay, well, that would make me nervous. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. All right, well. All right. So it's good to see you guys. Yeah, so we're halfway through the summer, just about, and it's going to get really hot this next week. We do have the homeless that we'll host for cooling stations on Thursday, Friday, Saturdays. We thought we were hosting Saturday, but the morning temperature projected was 98 on NBC, which is our rule. And I noticed this week they had tried to add a extra layer that if the heat index was above a certain level, they would still host. And I've been of the opinion that above 98 we should be hosting, because anything above your natural body temperature is a very stressful thing. So I've been wanting us to do 98 anyway, because I think if it's 99, now you're above your body temperature's natural temperature, and your body's working very, very hard to keep it under control. Obviously, if it gets up to 100, 300, 405, that changes that dramatically, but anything over your body temperature, to me, makes me nervous for homeless. And every year people die of heat exhaustion, homeless die of heat exhaustion every year. And so we want to make sure that we can do as much as we can to provide a place to get individuals out of that extreme heat. So I suspect we'll host a few times here in the weeks to come. So so pay attention for that. If you want to come up and help serve lunch or bring lunch or something like that, we'll host over in the common grounds, first building. And then you guys know this every year at winter, we host from the Sunday evening going into Christmas all the way through Christmas week to the following Saturday. And we did that originally because it was brutal cold one winter. And then we were like, well, why wouldn't we host every year at Christmas? I mean, people at Christmas, it'd be nice for someone to get off the street and be able to have home during the Christmas holiday and to be able to give them Christmas gifts and provide meals and do some training. So we'll do that again too. So if you're interested in helping with those kinds of things, there's plenty of outlets for that. So just a reminder for that. All right, well, we've been working through the book of Isaiah, and last week we read this chapter, Isaiah 51. We're going to read it again, but we're going to push toward the end. We didn't really get to talk about the second half of Isaiah 51, so we're going to focus in on the second half of Isaiah 51. And so I mentioned to you, I've been doing Audible through the Bible, through the Old Testament. I started about 4 weeks ago, and I've finished 1 Chronicles. So I've gone all the way through 1 Chronicles. I have learned a ton. And one thing I learned is that the hardest read of the Old Testament is not Leviticus. It is the first 10 to 12 chapters of 1 Chronicles. That is so hard. The opening of Numbers is hard, first 4 chapters of Numbers. But 1 Chronicles, the first 10 chapters, is such a hard read. So, to kind of slug through that a little bit. Because it names all of the tribal birth to get you to the kings, and it goes through every little city, and this guy, he had 3 kids, and they have this town plus the grazing land around it, and then this guy, and it's just 10 chapters of that. And I'm glad it's there. Obviously, it's the Word of God, but it's the Word of God chronicling the history of Israel. So it reads a little bit more like a family's genealogical record and land record. And so it's good it's there, but for the average American just reading through it, I think it's hard reading because I don't know any of these names. I'm doing Audible, which is good because if I were pronouncing them, I would butcher them. But anyway, so the reason I mention that to you, though, is that if you all the way through 1 Chronicles, I've already done, obviously, through 2 Kings, which is much of the book of Isaiah is in that time period. And it's been interesting to listen to it and also reading Isaiah. I think they work well together, and so you hear a lot of the parallel overlapping history as the emerging of the Babylonian Empire, Hezekiah, the whole story about Hezekiah showing the Babylonians everything he's got, all these kinds of things. And the Assyrians and the influx of Assyrians over and over into the nation of Israel. All right, so in Isaiah 51, we have Israel, Judah, Jerusalem in particular, on the verge of destruction. And Isaiah has already predicted it, and the evidence is clear that Assyria is on the move and that eventually the Babylonians, because of Isaiah 37, 38, 39, where Hezekiah shows them all the gold, that the Babylonians are eventually going to come and take over. And so all of that is hanging over Isaiah and the city of Jerusalem and the people of Israel. And that's why these messages to Isaiah about how is the Lord going to fix this? This should be the pressing question for Isaiah. And the Lord gives Isaiah this prophecy, and in the process gives Israel the prophecy, and in the process allows us to look back 700 years prior to Christ of how God took a completely unredeemable situation and fixed it anyway. And so I think that's what we see here in Isaiah 51 is the nation of Israel or the city of Jerusalem watching everything around them crumble, watching their own city struggle, and hearing the prophetic word of Isaiah saying, this is what's coming. And if you're in Jerusalem, you're like, oh, this seems hopeless. Isaiah 51 is one of several texts in the book of Isaiah post the announcement of Babylonian destruction is, hey, here's the anecdote from God over this about his promises, his covenant promises to Israel. And so we pick up with this phrase, listen to me. So everybody listen up, you who pursue righteousness. who seek the Lord, look to the rock from which you were hewn and to the quarry from which you were dug. Look to Abraham, your father, and to Sarah, who gave birth to you in pain. When he was but one, I called him. Then I blessed him and multiplied him. Indeed, the Lord will comfort Zion. He will comfort all her waste places, and her wilderness will be like Eden, and her desert like the garden of the Lord. Joy and gladness will be found in her, thanksgiving and sound of a melody. Pay attention to me, O my people, and give ear to me, O my nation. Kind of goes along with Steve's sermon this morning. Be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. So listen up, is what the Lord's saying. Pay attention, O my people, and give ear to me, O my nation. For a law will go forth from me, and I will set my justice for a light of the peoples. My righteousness is near. My salvation has gone forth, and my arms will judge the peoples. The coastlines will wait for me, and for my arm they will wait expectantly. Lift up your eyes to the sky, then look to the earth beneath, for the sky will vanish like smoke, and the earth will wear out like a garment, and its inhabitants will die in like manner. But my salvation will be forever, and my righteousness will not wane. Oh, by the way, one other thing about the Old Testament, Samuel, Kings, Chronicles, it is so violent. And the whole issue of the value of human life, is there ever been a time in human history where the value of human life was so low? Like just almost no value for human life. Just the violence, the incredible violence. And so just in thinking about this, if you're the city of Jerusalem, you're not thinking about, well, we'll get conquered. You're thinking about what they do when they conquer people. It is never pretty. Every time it's like, oh, this city was conquered, and they killed all 40,000 of them. This city was conquered, they killed all 20,000 of them. This city was conquered, they killed them all, burned it all to the ground, took all their animals, left nothing there. Like it's over and over and over again. So if you're Jerusalem, that's the world you're living in. This is the history. Everywhere around, it's like just complete annihilation. And so if you're in the city of Jerusalem, you're going, I think I know how this story ends. And it doesn't end well, right? And so the Lord wants them to not panic over that. Listen to me, you who know righteousness, a people in whose heart is my law. Do not fear the reproach of man, nor be dismayed at their revilings. For the moth will eat them like a garment, and the grub will eat them like wool. But my righteousness will be forever, and my salvation to all generations. Awake, awake. This is the second half. So it opens, as Isaiah 51, it opens with listen up. The second half of it is wake up. Right? So we have these two verbs here that draw, kind of a contrast. The first 8 is listen. The second half of the chapter, 9 down to the end, is wake up. All right? So awake, awake, put on strength, O arm of the Lord. Awake as in the days of old, the generations of long ago. Was it not you who cut Rahab in pieces, who pierced the dragon? So these are mythological Egyptian lore. Rahab is not Rahab the harlot. Rahab here is a mythological creature of a terrible, fearful, we don't know if it's a real creature or mythological. It has a feel of maybe the crocodile or something like that in the Nile, or is it an alligator in the Nile? I don't know. Crocodile in the Nile. Okay, all right, thank you. Yes? Yeah, for sure. Yes. Yes. And we probably were at that point in the Sunday school lesson. So that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. Get some coffee, people. Yeah, wake up. All right. So this is a reference here to the Lord dominating, I think probably goes back to Egypt. This is a brief way of saying, because Rahab and the dragon, these references to the dominance of Egypt. And the reason I think that is verse 10 says, was it not you who dried up the sea? Right? So that's post-Egyptian, that's out the Exodus. So I think the Rahab and the dragon is a reference to the dominance of Egyptian power over the slaves. And then it moves from there to, was it not you who dried up the sea, the waters of the great deep? So I did see that Rahab is a fictional Egyptian type creature, but is sometimes a allusion in Jewish literature to Egypt itself. Is that the Lord, yes?
Is it a real dragon?
We don't know. It's hard to nail down. There was some huge beast apparently associated. It could have been something like a crocodile on the Nile that is associated with Egypt and its dominance over Israel, like the way the crocodile would pull people into death into the Nile River. So Egypt was throwing, Jewish babies into the Nile. Some illusion like that.
So in the ark, when Williamsburg, they had the dragons there. Is that where they're getting the reference?
I don't know. Yeah, this is the thing about this, the reference to dragon. We see it in the New Testament as well. This mythological creature, the most terrifying creature you can imagine. Is there some kind of just made up mythology in Egypt that they're like the dragon dominating the nations around? I don't know. But I think the reference is to, there may be some real creatures. Yeah, well, yeah, so that is one thing, though, is that if it's some massive crocodile, that it has some legend, it's grown, it's grown in legendary type ideas. And yeah, I mean, we see this even, like I'm terrified in Florida. I don't want to be in the water. I'm outside the ocean. I don't want to be in fresh water in Florida, in the swamp areas. That's terrifying. Those creatures are massive and they're scary. Someone died this week, right? This young lady died this week. Terrifying. And they're so fast and so strong. And you can imagine one on the Nile River, a couple of those getting, 30 feet long and terrifying like that. Yeah, you could see how this would grow into, it becomes kind of a picture of Egypt and that kind of thing. And the reason I think it refers to Egypt is that right after that he says he dried up the sea. Well, that's clearly a reference to the parting of the Red Sea and those kinds of things. Who made the depths of the sea a pathway for the redeemed to cross over. So to me, it makes sense that this dragon, this mythological Rahab creature is killed and then they cross on dry ground is a brief kind of symbolic reference to God's 10 plagues and his defeat of the Egyptian dominance over Israel, I think seems to be the case. And so he wants them to consider these things and says, so the ransom of the Lord will return and come with joyful shouting to Zion. So verse 11 is this conclusion. So then, in light of that, given that the Lord dealt with Egypt, given that he dried up the land and brought the redeemed out of Egypt and into the Holy Land. And the reason this is such a great parallel is think about this. So let's go back to Israel, meaning not the nation, the guy, the dude, Israel. He has 12 sons, right? These 12 sons have a bunch of wives and kids, and they all wind up leaving the promised land and going to Egypt. Then the Lord defeats Egypt and brings them out of that situation across dry ground back to the promised land. To me, that's what seems to be going on here. So the ransom of the Lord will return. In other words, the same way the Lord returned Israel, Jacob, and his 12 sons to the Holy Land, so it will be in this case as well. That seems to be the parallel. And he says, and will come with joyful shouting to Zion, and everlasting joy will be on their heads. They will obtain gladness and joy, and sorrow and sighing will flee away. So this is a message to Isaiah, who's gotten information that the king of Babylon's going to come, that the city of Jerusalem will be destroyed. This will be a very hopeless situation. Will any survive, right? Will anyone survive this? And again, working through 2 Kings, there's really the end of Jerusalem, the fall of Jerusalem is so dramatic and so painful. I don't remember this, but Nebuchadnezzar takes the king, he kills his sons in front of him, gouges his eyes out, takes him to Babylon. There is a statement, though, later on, in 2 Kings later on, that king is given a nice place to live and is invited to the palace. And in the end, despite losing his 2 sons and his, having his eyes gouged out, at the end, the successor to Nebuchadnezzar shows him great kindness. And so, but you can just imagine for the nation of Israel in that moment, the king's eyes have been gouged out, his sons have been killed, the city is now being handed over to, kind of an appointed governor. Eventually, what happens is a governor, and then that governor is assassinated. The whole 300,000 of them flee, and they're not in Jerusalem anymore, they're in Samaria. They flee, and Nebuchadnezzar kills all of them in Egypt. So it's just terrible. And so at this point, you're looking at just going, there's no hope here at all. There's zero hope. You got a bunch of people taken off to Babylon. The remaining group of 300,000 have been killed, and there's almost nothing remains. But here Isaiah is given this message. So the ransom of the Lord will return and will come with joyful shouting. They're going to come and shout in joy. Even I, am he who comforts you. Who are you that you are afraid of man who dies, and the Son of Man who is made like grass? That you have forgotten the Lord our Maker, who stretched out the heavens and laid the foundation of the earth, that you fear continually all day long because of the fury of the oppressor, as he makes ready to destroy. But where is the fury of the oppressor? The exile will soon be set free and will not die in the dungeon, nor will his bread be lacking. For I am the Lord your God, who stirs up the sea, and its waves roar. The Lord of hosts is his name. I have put my words in your mouth, and I have covered you with the shadow of my hand, to establish the heavens, to found the earth, and to say to Zion, you are my people. Rouse yourself. So not only awake, but get up and get moving. Rouse yourself. Arise, O Jerusalem. You have drunk from the Lord's hand the cup of his anger, the chalice of reeling. You have drained it to the dregs. So there's this picture, and we see this idea, the chalice or the cup of the wrath of God. And we see this played out in other places in the Bible. We saw it in our study through the book of Revelation, where the 7 cups are bowls of wrath, or cups of wrath, bowls of wrath. And we see this especially depicted in Jesus himself, and the cup in the Lord's Supper, where he drinks this cup and says, I've desired to drink this until I come again in my kingdom. I won't come again. And then at the Garden of Gethsemane, and if you ever get a chance to go to Israel, that is an incredible spot. But anyway, the Garden of Gethsemane, there's a place there where Jesus is marked as historically whether Jesus prayed there or not. I don't know, but it's probably not too far from the spot. But he prays, take this cup from me. What cup does he want taken from him? Answer, the cup of wrath, the cup of reeling, the cup of the Lord's anger. And so Jesus is going to drink the full cup of the anger of the Lord. And he does this so that you and I are now not being handed the chalice, the cup of the wrath of the Lord. Someone has already completely consumed it. And so that's the picture you have in Jesus, bearing our wrath, bearing the anger of the Lord directed at us. And so the same image is used here about the city of Jerusalem, is that all of the wrath of the Lord will have been consumed. So the city will be completely destroyed. Every stone on the top of the city of Jerusalem is tossed into the Kidron Valley. They're still doing archaeological work on it now. I think I told you this, where there's a spot up on the Mount of Olives where you can go and volunteer for an hour or two to sift through materials, because what happened is in the Kidron Valley, there was a Muslim-controlled area, and they just took dump truck loads of it and dumped it out in this other location to clear it out of the way. 9 huge dump trucks full of stuff. Well, it's all from that Kidron Valley, and it's all mixed together now. And so now there's this group that is sifting through all of those dump trucks full of stuff, and you go get you a big bucket of it, you rinse it all out, you spread it out on this iron or whisk-like metal grid, you wash it through, and you go looking for stuff, pieces of bone, metal, coins. You can find pottery, things like that, and you're looking for things like that. While we were there, one of the people in our group found a coin. It was from 250 AD, but it was still really cool. And the coin was in absolute pristine condition. And so it was really cool. And so you can go and actually do this. But what happened was that instead of doing archaeological remove out of the Kidron Valley in this one area, they just took big front loaders and dumped them into these big dump trucks full, 9 of them, and then dumped them out in some trash heap. So it's all mixed together. So going through it is taking painstaking effort. Where they could have layered down like they do in most archaeological digs, instead they're going through it. But all of that was created, well, it's just a small section of it, but all that was created when the Babylonians forced the Jewish slaves to take every stone off the top of the city so that all that was left was a bald hill. Like, there's nothing there. It's hard to imagine today when you're there. You're like, wow. But there was nothing left. And they cleared the Temple Mount completely, cleared it out, leveled it. And so that was the full wrath of the Lord, was the complete destruction of the city of Jerusalem. So in 586 BC, Nebuchadnezzar, through forced labor of Jewish people, to take their own temple structure, rock by rock, stone by stone, and toss it off the hill of the city of Jerusalem into the Kidron Valley. Yeah, terrible. Yes?
I guess when Nehemiah rebuilt the wall, he was hauling rock stuff up into the valley.
Yeah, did he use some of those things? Sure, and that's another thing that makes the archaeology hard, is some of these things get reused. And they get reused in different ways. And so some of them may have been for rebuilding the wall, some of them for the temple, and they probably didn't put them in the same place they came from originally, right? Yeah. So, yeah, that's one of the archaeological challenges, is that the reuse of material. It's like, okay, well, where did that come from? And, yeah, for sure. All right, so it says here, there is none to guide her among all the sons she has borne, nor is there one to take her by the hand among all the sons she has reared. These 2 things have befallen you. Who will mourn for you? The devastation and destruction, famine and sword. How shall I comfort you? Your sons have fainted. They lie helpless at the head of every street, like an antelope in a net, full of the wrath of the Lord, the rebuke of your God. So they're to look around at the city of Jerusalem as it's falling, and as even their young people, this picture here of even the young people are trapped and caught in the snare. And we're told that the snare is the full wrath of the Lord. And this is one thing, too, is that the emergence of Josiah is interesting in 2 Kings, because along comes Josiah, whose dad is not a good human, not a good person. But anyway, Josiah comes, and for 30 years or so, he reigns. He takes over at age 8. And so at 8, there was a mandate of, breakfast cereal involving lots of sugar in the whole kingdom. Yeah. Frosted Flakes took off during Josiah's rule. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, Saturday morning cartoons and breakfast cereals were a big player for the first 4 or 5 years of his rule. But apparently the people around him were really good people. They guided him well, gave him instruction. These people loved the Lord. And Josiah grows up, and the more he works through this, the more he realizes the error of all those around him leading up to this point. He goes through, clears out the temple. He redoes it. They have this whole remodeling thing on the temple. And what's interesting is that the Lord says to Josiah, look, you're amazing. I love you. It's too late. The evil has built up so much that the wrath is coming. But you're awesome, and I'm not going to let you be the one to see this fall. Because he was young when he dies. He's only 38 or 37 or something like that when he dies. And he easily could have lived. Many of these kings live into their 50s and 60s. He easily could have lived longer, but he dies on the battlefield. But right after him, his son reigns for 3 months. And now we get the succession of kings and Babylon gets involved and assassinations, and you just start churning through people. And Josiah misses all of that. And so the Lord basically says to him, hey, you have the right heart, but the buildup of sin has been so great for all these years. I won't let it happen during your time period, and I'll give you peace for right now, a limited amount, but eventually this is all going away. You might remember, though, there's a really intriguing thing. Elisha predicted that a man named Josiah would come and bring reform 300 years in advance, or not quite, 200 years in advance. Maybe it's 300. Anyway, so he predicts it, and so they're desecrating Josiah is going to go desecrate all the idolatrous worship sites. And the way they do this is they set up a latrine on each one. Yeah, and then they dig up the bones of the pagan priests that have been buried in honor in the area. They dig them up and burn them over the site, and then they turn it into a latrine. Like they desecrate it. And there's this moment where they come to a monument, and Josiah's like, what's that? And they're like, well, the guy buried there is Elisha. He predicted you by name hundreds of years ago. He's like, all right, leave that one there. And then they move on. But the problem was it was too much. There was so much evil, so much sin, so much corruption that the Lord says, the wrath is coming, Josiah. There's nothing you can do to stop it. And so that's why he says, the rebuke of the Lord, therefore please hear this, you afflicted who are drunk, but not with wine. Thus says the Lord, thus says your Lord, the Lord, even your God, who contends for his people. Behold, I have taken out of your hand the cup of reeling, the chalice of my anger. You will never drink it again. So after this full destruction, this group, there's this promise of restoration. I will put it into the hands of your tormentors who have said to you, lie down that we may walk over you. You have even made your back like the ground and like the street for those who walk over it. And this reminds us a little bit of when Belshazzar is in his palace, and they're like, hey, get those Jewish utensils from the temple. Oh, that's the other thing in the Chronicles. I think this is also labeled, maybe it shows up in Kings, but in Chronicles, there's this whole group of people whose sole task is take care of the utensils of the temple. So it's like a big deal, and to make sure they're accounted for, they count them every day to make sure someone didn't like slip a piece of gold, gold utensil into their pocket. They literally count them every day. Now, as I was listening to that, I thought it was funny. There's this group of people, it's a family, and their job is, you guys make sure these utensils are taken care of. And they're to clean them, to count them every day, to account for them every day. So these are very valuable to the nation of Israel and to the aspect of worship. And during Josiah, that's one of the reforms, as he restores all of that so that the temple worship is back to where it should be, all those kinds of things. And so when Nebuchadnezzar comes, he steals all that stuff. He takes it. Well, Belshazzar takes it out and is like, we'll use those for serving dinner tonight. And the Lord, as you know, he put in the hands of the tormentors, he then is going to have them lie down and get walked over. Daniel comes and tells him, this is what it says. And this is all coming to an end. And that the King Belshazzar is killed that night. And the Medo-Persians raid city of Babylon. They're killed. And this begins the process of the return of the Jewish people to the Holy Land. And so I think that prediction here has to do with this. I will put the cup of wrath into the hand of your tormentors, who have said to you, lie down that we may walk over you. You have even made your back like the ground and like the street of those who walk over it. And so basically God's going to do to the tormentors what they did to Israel. And in the process, he'll restore them to the city of Jerusalem. And so, and so you know your biblical history. You know that during Nehemiah, which I should get through this week. Nehemiah, Esther this week. I got 2 Chronicles and Nehemiah, Esther. I am nervous because I am headed towards what I think is going to be very hard listening. to 40 plus chapters of Job, followed by 150 chapters of the Psalms. I think that may be challenging. But I have to listen. If my brain wanders, I go back and re-listen to it. And so, I've got to have discipline for it. So I'm just thinking about Job and the long lectures from the friends going, all right, I got to pay attention. So anyway, it's been an interesting experiment. I've learned a lot. And because I've read through the text before, but it's like, I'm going to listen to it in a few weeks, over the summer. And I've already learned a lot. And actually on the pace I'm on, I should be done by July, by the time July's up, because of the pace at which I've been listening to it. So anyway. All right, well, so that's our text for today. And so you've already seen the two main ideas here is listen up and wake up. Listen up and wake up. And the listen up is to look back historically at what the Lord has done, and wake up and see that the Lord is what he's about to do. Listen up is let me give you a historical lesson of what the Lord has done in the past, how he's taken Israel, let her go into captivity, and brought her dramatically out of captivity. So that's our past. That's what we know about the past. And he does make a brief reference to the Lord as creator, where he says, look at the heavens. And then it's wake up is this, hey, now let's consider what the plans of the Lord are for the future. And here he tells them that he has plans for the city of Jerusalem, how even though right now young men are trapped like a gazelle in a net, that what will happen is eventually those who have set those traps, those who have taken over, those who have caused such destruction, the Lord will allow them to fall into a snare. And so he says of Jerusalem, they've drunk the wrath of the cup of wrath of the Lord to its fullest. And now that cup is going to be placed in the hands of the people who brought this about. And we see this with Belshazzar, and the whole Babylonian kingdom falls completely. You know this, right? Like, it peaks under Nebuchadnezzar and Nebuchadnezzar, and then slowly starts to deteriorate, and then disappears as fast as it appears. Before then, it was under the dominance of Assyria. Assyria dominated Babylon, and Nebuchadnezzar breaks the Assyrian dominance, and his son Nebuchadnezzar becomes the most powerful king in the world, and you have about 100 years of Babylonian dominance, and then gone. They're gone, completely gone. And the Lord replaces them with the Medo-Persian Empire. And in that Medo-Persian Empire, you get a king who says, yeah, you guys go home. No plagues, no dramatic miracles, just Nehemiah looking kind of down on the mouth for a day. And the king's like, yeah, here's a letter. You get all the supplies you need. And just like that, they go back home. And so the kingdom that dominated them disappears completely. That reign, that whole lineage of kings is cut off, gone completely, replaced with the Medo-Persians. And the Medo-Persian Empire, the head of that empire, says to Nehemiah and also Ezra and so forth, these groups of people, yeah, go home. And so they go back home. The wrath of the Lord has been drunk to the full of both Jerusalem, but now also in Babylon. And now that the Babylonian Empire has drunk the wrath of the Lord to the full, the nation of Israel from a different nation will be released back to their home. Now, there is a bit of a now and not yet fulfillment here. Because we know this isn't permanent. Because they're going to return home. And so how long are they in the city of Jerusalem before destruction in 586 BC? Quick historical question. When do they take Jerusalem? About 1000 BC. David, 7 years in Hebron, 7.5 years. That's kind of funny. Normally, the numbers are a year, 2 years, 3 years, but 7.5. It says it multiple times in the Old Testament. David reigns at Hebron, and then he takes Jerusalem by sneaking into Warren Shaft, the water cistern, in the middle of the night. He sneaks down through that shaft, or climbs up that shaft and into the city and defeats the city. takes over the city, probably around 1000 BC. City falls around 600 BC, just to make the math easy. That's 400 years. So they return around 500 BC, and it's destroyed 70 AD, so almost 600 years. So they have 500 years of Jerusalem dominance, destroyed. They come back, 600 years, destroyed. And then we have a period of time of Jewish departure from the city of Jerusalem from 70 AD until the year, for the city of Jerusalem, around 1970, so 1900 years.
When's he supposed to rebuild?
What's that?
When's he supposed to rebuild?
The city of Jerusalem, the temple and things like that? I don't know. We'll see. I mean, there's been a move for Jewish people to say, we would like our own place of worship. One of the more dramatic things, the first time I went to see the Temple Mount while we were there, we went 3 or 4 times, but the first time was at night. We had arrived to our hotel, and we walked from our hotel down to the Temple Mount, about mile and a half. And on the way there, we walked in front of, there's a synagogue, and the synagogue, I think I have a picture on my phone of this, but the synagogue has, whoops, that's not the way to do that. Let's do this. In the front of the synagogue, I bet I kept this picture. It was so dramatic. I was like, wow, that's crazy. I deleted a bunch of photos off my phone. There it is. Is that it? Okay. I don't know if you can see it, but this is a huge synagogue. So this is the menorah, and it's giant. It's like 8 foot tall. This is 2 blocks or 3 blocks from the Temple Mount, okay? And on there, it says real clearly that this synagogue has built this menorah so that when the temple is rebuilt, they can put this in the temple. So it's not that no one's thinking about it. I mean, like, we walked by it. We weren't planning on going. Well, I mean, the archaeologists probably planned on us going by there. I went by there. It's like, what is this? And then you read the labels on it. They built that menorah and put it in this really tight, secured glass. And it says on there, when the temple is ready to be rebuilt, we have the menorah ready to go. So there is a move here towards giving Israel a place of worship.
So will that be Ezekiel's temple?
Ezekiel's temple is ginormous, so I don't know. Maybe the Lord doesn't allow the complete construction of the temple until he returns. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of people who have speculated that the temple is necessary for the second coming. It depends on, your eschatological views of these things in the book of Revelation. And do you think that there's a full-blown temple with full-blown temple worship at some point in the book of Revelation, and how that all plays out? And we went through the book of Revelation, and the problem is it's hard because it's in the future. I mean, when Jesus came, remember all the confusion? It's like, wait, is he the great prophet? Is this, is he a messianic king? Is this going to be his kingdom now? How do we understand all this? Remember all the confusion? There's all kinds of prophetic material that now looks really obvious. You look at it and go, whoa, those are quite clear. But at the time, it was difficult, right? Because those were future predictions that started to unfold, and it's really hard to know. So this is why anyone telling you today, I'm super confident I've got all the end times figured out. I was like, go back to 1st century AD when Jesus showed up and how much confusion was going on, despite how clear it seems to us now looking back at it. So I would just say, look, if 1st century obsessed over eschatological things and prophecy, couldn't figure out everything with Jesus until after his death, burial, and resurrection, we should tap the brakes a little bit about being overconfident about these kinds of things. However, when you see something like this menorah there, that's just 2 or 3 blocks from the Temple Mount, you do go, that's intriguing. So I think that's a fair response, is to say, I don't know what that means, but that intrigues me. Come walking across this and going, and Israel's just gone through this massive war too. I mean, they're right toward the end of the war when we were there with Hamas and Gaza and all that. And so all the nations of the world lining up against Israel, is this a possibility? I think so, right? I mean, if you think about the book of Revelation, this is insanity, the book of Revelation is. Because if John wrote this after the destruction of Jerusalem, no one writes about the whole world lining up against Israel in the future. It's already been destroyed. Like, what are we talking about, John? 20 years ago, this thing got wiped out. 25 years ago, if John writes this in 95 AD, which I suspect he did, people would read it and go, well, Israel's gone. And you guys know this, that during the late 1800s, America was supposed to be the new Israel. Because there was no Israel. So the theologians of the late 1800s, they were all, D.L. Moody had this guy with him that was like this real into end time stuff. And he had said, America's the new Israel. And New York was the new Jerusalem and stuff like that. That was a prominent thing. 1948 happens and people go, that's weird. And then along comes the war over the city of Jerusalem, 67. They take Jerusalem. And you're like, oh, that's weird. And so now what seems like an impossibility, that Israel would be back in the Holy Land and the entire world's focus would be on Israel. That could never happen, right? But here we are, 2,000 years later, and that's exactly what's happened. It's beyond amazing. And so how people can't read the Bible and go, look, there's no coincidence to this stuff. Yeah. So, and just to show you how crazy this is, in the early 1900s, there's a group of about 73 families living in Europe who say, we're going to go back to Israel, Jewish families. And they've been speaking Yiddish. They're like, we're going to abandon Yiddish. We're going to go to Hebrew. Yiddish is 90-something% German with Hebrew letters. They come to Israel. They go, we're going to restore the Jewish language. We're going to restore the Jewish culture. And they moved to Tel Aviv. That's where Tel Aviv was created, was these 70-some-odd families moving there. 1910, something like that, around there. They get a plot of land along Tel Aviv. And Tel, meaning old, Aviv, meaning spring, old and new, ancient and modern, brought together. They move to Tel Aviv, and they go, we're going to be truly Jewish. We're going to follow the Mosaic law. We're going to learn the Hebrew language. We're not going to have our kids do Yiddish anymore. We're going to teach our kids how to speak Hebrew. And that little group of people, and now we have this nation of Israel. It's insane. So, yeah. And so when you, what's that? What was Nehemiah's vision? Well, I mean, Nehemiah was trying to fulfill what he had read in Jeremiah. Jeremiah had told them after 70 years you'll return, and Nehemiah's vision was to come and provide security for the city of Jerusalem so they could rebuild and fulfill the Lord's promises to Isaiah and Jeremiah. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah, so
And my righteousness will never fail. Well, it's not the saving of God. My salvation, it's not his. He's the one acting, saving.
right.
I think it's a parallelism. The righteousness is not that he's righteous. Of course he is, but he's making people righteous. His people and us. This is the name. The islands are even looking to him.
Yeah.
Or they're waiting for him. It sounds
Right, so that's why I say it's a now and not yet. When Israel returned to the city of Jerusalem, I think many of them felt like Isaiah 51 was being writ large in their return and rebuild. I think people at the time of Jesus would have said, this Isaiah 51 is the fulfillment of what we're seeing right now. However, they never really experienced Isaiah 51, ever, really. I mean, Herod the Great is ruler over them. He's not even Jewish, all those kinds of things. So I agree with you in that I don't think the temple of Jesus' day was the ultimate fulfillment of Isaiah 51. But I do think there was a now and not yet to it, because the group that trampled on them did get trampled. That they did return. They did rebuild the city. And they built it greater than it ever was. But I do think there's a now and not yet to it, yes. And I think that's true of a lot of biblical prophecy. There's a little bit of a now and not yet, that we get a taste of it, a portion of it, but the fulfillment ultimately is later. I agree with you that there's a future, and that's why I made allusion to the fact that now here we are 2,000 years later, and these prophecies about Jerusalem and Israel, when you go, they're not even a people, there's not even many Jewish people in the area, and then suddenly an influx of individuals. I think that could be building towards this ultimate fulfillment of Isaiah 51. Yeah.
in light of that, then it's kind of a cool insight of what salvation is already here.
Yep.
Because my salvation
Right.
That's equated with my righteousness that I'm going to make you will never fail.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, the justification by faith implications there, right. We see that in Isaiah 53 as well, where he says, by you the many will be made righteous. That kind of allusion to justification by faith, which clearly is something bigger than a temple's been rebuilt, a city's been rebuilt. That salvation is much bigger than just the culture and society have been preserved. I agree. Which is why I don't think Isaiah 51 is fulfilled in Nehemiah or Ezra or Herod the Great's rebuilding of the city. But I do think it has a now and not yet type feel to it. Yeah, that's good. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah. All right, well, all right. We'll pick up Isaiah 52 next week. Yeah, new chapter. All right, well, let's pray. God, you are good. Thank you for your word. Thank you for being gracious towards us, Lord. May we listen and may we be aware, alert, awake. And so we see you at work. We thank you for the fact that Jesus has borne the fullness of the wrath due us. Because of that, we now have the righteousness that was not ours, but one given to us by you, and that our peace, our hope, our eternal security is sure. We pray all these things in the name of Christ. Amen.